Hello and welcome to this edition of Represent NYC on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I am Congressman Adriano Espaillat, representing New York's 13th Congressional District, encompassing the Village of Harlem, East Harlem, Hamilton Heights, Washington Heights, Inwood, and the Northwest Bronx. Today we will be talking about the next steps in our efforts to assist all New Yorkers in the wake of Hurricane Ida, which ravaged many communities in our city and our district earlier this month. Joining me today are experts on disaster recovery from our state, city, and federal government. Carlotta Chang-Appleton from FEMA, Christian Jackstadt, the New York State Deputy Director of State Operation, and New York City Councilmember Mark Levine, who is a local representative, as well as Carl Dombek, the public affairs specialist at the U.S. Small Business Administration. Each of them today will have and bring a breadth of knowledge about the support programs and aid available for constituencies and small businesses that were negatively impacted by flooding as a result of Hurricane Ida. My office continues to work and collaborating with many of you in our communities. You are our partners, and we support ongoing efforts to bring you relief from Hurricane Ida. The storm's impact on the district was devastating. I encourage all of you to watch us live as we continue through social media and Manhattan Neighborhood Network to send your, and to please send your questions on today's comment section live on Facebook. At this time, let's hear from Carlotta Chang-Appleton, who serves as an individual assistant to the Taskforce on FEMA. FEMA, of course, is the agency that often gives us a lot of help when we have a natural disaster. So let's hear from Carlotta first. Welcome, Carlotta.
Good afternoon, Congressman Espaillat. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Let me begin with expressing my gratitude for the agency that I work with and the help that we are, giving to New Yorkers. I myself reside in New York. I'm a Bronx native. And so this disaster is really special to me. It's, home. And I'll do my very best to assist in any capacity. All right, so FEMA provides assistance. The cadre in which I am working is the individual assistance. We provide individual household program assistance for residents who have been affected by the disaster. There are financial assistance for home repairs, and there might be transitional sheltering that could be available. There are also program assistance for some unmet needs that FEMA might not be able to grant financial assistance to, but we do it in partnership with our, state officials. If the applicant is a homeowner, business owner, FEMA will help to guide them to SBA, who will be able to possibly offer a low interest loan for their recovery efforts. So FEMA's mission is to support our citizens and first responders to ensure that as a nation, we work together to build, sustain, and improve our capabilities to prepare for, protect against, respond to, and recover from, and mitigate all hazards. Disaster assistance is available regardless of race, color, religion, nationality, sex, age, disability, English proficiency, or economic status. So if you or someone you know has been discriminated against, you can call a FEMA toll-free line at 1-800-621-3362. That's 1-800-621-3362. Voice VRS is 711. the relay service. TDD is 1-800-462-7585. That's 1-800-862-7585. And we also have multilingual operators available. Help after disaster, we not only help US citizens, but we also help non-resident citizens who have minor children that are legal residents of the United States. They can apply on behalf of the children. We provide housing assistance. Under housing assistance, there is rental assistance, financial assistance that is available, lodging expenses reimbursement. So if you have to vacate your home for the repairs to be provided, you might be eligible for lodging reimbursement expenses. You know, if that program is on and you provide the receipts, FEMA might be able to assist with reimbursing those costs. We also help with home repairs, home replacement. It depends, you know, on what the situation is. Direct housing options might be also available where there are trailers available and or multi-lease programs, but that's dependent on the nature of the disaster and, you know, what is decided between FEMA and the state representatives. Other needs assistance is what we call ONA at FEMA, and that attends to personal property that was destroyed and needs to be replaced in the disaster. So if you're eligible, if you qualify, you might be able to receive that assistance, as well as some medical and dental, as long as it is attributed to the disaster. There is also funeral assistance, and this is outside of the COVID-19 funeral assistance. If the death was related to the disaster, there is funeral assistance that an applicant might be eligible for as well. Childcare, if their childcare provider is displaced because of the disaster. If you have a need now for childcare because of the disaster, you're also able to put in an application to see if eligibility, if you will be eligible for assistance. There are miscellaneous expenses, also transportation, moving and storage expenses also fall under ONA that one might be possibly eligible for. There's also crisis counseling that is offered by the agency, legal services, disaster legal services to help with, you know, legal matters that might arise because of the disaster, as well as disaster unemployment. Though unemployment is handled by the state, the disaster unemployment come with specific parameters that people who are affected by the disaster and have become unemployed will be able to apply and hopefully gain that benefit, financial benefit. There's also disaster case management that is provided by the agency, and those attend to needs that FEMA or the state might not be able to provide. And so the application is handled by voluntary agency liaisons who will take a look at the case and attempt to assist the applicant as best as possible. Applying for FEMA, you can call 1-800-621-3362 and an agent will assist you with the application. You can also apply online at disasterassistance.gov. And there's also the option of going to one of the disaster recovery center, sitting with an agent and, you know, getting that assistance to walk through the application with you. So we have 3 viable means of applying for FEMA assistance. Here at FEMA, we have to ensure that the assistance provided does not duplicate assistance from another source and was spent appropriately on the disaster cause necessary expenses and serious needs and was not obtained through fraudulent means. There will be a series of questions once an application is placed so that we're not duplicating financial resources that you might get, let's say, from an insurance company. If the insurance company pays you for some of the repairs, FEMA will not go ahead and duplicate those same payments. If there is a need and you haven't received as much funding as it will cost to do the repairs, then you might be eligible to receive those excess funds that are needed from FEMA. So FEMA has a max grant of $36,000. For the COVID funeral, it is a $9,000 grant. We also have disaster specifics that for each disaster, there are a certain amount of money that is attributed to particular items. So for 4615 New York, for transportation has a cap of $10,000. So if your vehicle was damaged, you might be eligible to receive the max grant in transportation for $10,000. Whatever your individual needs are, FEMA will work with that applicant one-on-one to address and attend to the specific needs. So from time to time, we'll hear, well, my neighbor got this and my neighbor got that, and people down the road got this amount of money. Why am I not getting it? It's not a set amount that each person will get, with the exception of the grant, the max grant. There are special circumstances that your neighbor might have that you might not have. And so your funding will differ. FEMA works along with NFIP, and that's the National Flood Insurance Program. It's managed by us here at FEMA, and it includes around 60 or so insurance companies and the NFIP direct. So if you don't have flood insurance and you suffered loss through this disaster, you can go ahead and apply for FEMA assistance. There is a possibility that you might be offered NFIP insurance. All right, so you can submit an application for that. And just remember that flood can happen at any time, and just a tiny bit of flood water can cost thousands of dollars in damages.
We so appreciate the FEMA perspective, and now I'm excited to hear some from the perspective of New York State. And so I'm going to cue Mr. Christian Jackstadt, who is the Deputy Director of State Operations for New York, with a little bit about what you're offering the people of New York City. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Christian Jackstadt, and I serve as the Deputy Director of State Operations. And on behalf of the governor and the state of New York, I wanted to thank the congressman for having us on here today to explain all the important work that we've done and all the great resources that we have to offer. As soon as it became clear that New York was going to be impacted by this Hurricane Ida and the remnants of Hurricane Ida, Governor Hochul immediately directed all state agencies to deploy emergency response assets at the state level, and to work with our federal partners to make sure that we took swift actions to help everyone in the communities. I remember well that evening of September 1st and the early morning hours of September 2nd, which I'm sure everyone else does as well. We worked with Governor Hochul to declare a state of emergency. And then we coordinated the state's response with state agencies as well as our local partners, all with the extreme focus of taking every action that we could to protect New Yorkers. As the response operations have now turned into a recovery effort, Governor Hochul has immediately directed myself and others across New York State government to work with our partners at the federal and local level to bring forward all the possible resources that we can for New Yorkers. In that light, within days, Governor Hochul launched an online resource hub where New Yorkers can seek information on all available assistance programs that New York has to offer, as well as those that our local partners and our federal partners at FEMA and the SBA have to offer as well. That can be reached at ny.gov/IDA. This specifically includes information from the Department of Financial Services and their resources to help New Yorkers navigate their insurance policy and coverage in those policies. Immediately following the state of emergency, DFS advised insurers they must increase their resources to help policyholders with their claim settlement and claim adjustments as it relates to the storm. DFS is also allowing permits to be issued, temporary permits to be issued to qualified out-of-state independent adjusters, again, to make sure that we're providing as many resources as we can to those communities in need. New Yorkers who have additional questions about their insurance coverage can call the DFS hotline at 1-800-339-1759, or they can visit one of the many FEMA disaster recovery centers, or DRCs, that are staffed by both FEMA personnel as well as DFS personnel, as well as both local and other state agencies that can provide any assistance that's needed. The aforementioned resource hub also includes information for New Yorkers to meet their basic needs, including how to find local food banks, how to find pantries, what nonprofits could be in the area. And again, that's at ny.gov/IDA. Additionally, just this past Monday, Governor Hochul announced that SNAP recipients in New York City whose food was spoiled or otherwise impacted by the storm due to power outages or floods can apply to have the amount of their August SNAP benefits given back to them. So in essence, that we are offering through the SNAP program the ability to get back a month's worth of benefits that may have been lost due to the storm. As far as working with our federal partners following the storm, Governor Hochul first requested and received a federal emergency declaration to get immediate aid to local governments, while the State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services and local governments worked with each other and FEMA to complete damage assessment, the damage assessment process in support of a major disaster declaration. President Biden approved that major disaster declaration for New York on September 6th for 6 counties that have met those damage thresholds. Together with FEMA, we cited and opened the DRCs in locations most impacted by the storm. And as FEMA discussed, the joint state, local, federal partnership has helped to open up resources through their programs in eligible counties for individuals as well as for businesses through the SBA program. I wanted to thank my colleagues at FEMA and the SBA, as well as all local partners. On behalf of Governor Hochul, thanks for the partnership. I think we've done incredible amount of work in the last several weeks, and we're here to continue the support and answer any questions as needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian, for the update from the state. And now I'm excited to get an update from the Small Business Administration, because so many of those who are impacted were our small businesses, our family-run stores that got hit particularly hard in Northern Manhattan. And I'm really grateful now to have Carl Dombek here, who can give us information about what small businesses can access through the SBA. Thank you, Carl.
Well, Mark, thank you for having me, and thank you to the Congressman for putting this together. Importantly, and this gets often overlooked because of our name, we not only help small businesses, we help homeowners and renters who were affected by this disaster as well, and nonprofit organizations too. So anybody with physical damage from this disaster can apply to the SBA for a low-interest disaster loan to help fund the repairs that aren't covered by insurance or other recoveries, such as perhaps a FEMA grant. It's important to register with FEMA as a first step, no matter what category you fall into. And then if you are a business, you will be referred directly to us. If you are a homeowner or a renter, you may also be referred to us and given an SBA disaster loan application to fill out. It's particularly important for homeowners and renters to fill those out, even if they don't believe they can afford a loan or don't want one, because if we assess your situation, take a look at your numbers, for example, and agree that a loan would not be appropriate, then we can refer you back to FEMA for some of that other needs assistance that Carlotta was talking about. If you don't return the application, though, we will have no basis to do a comparison or an analysis, I should say, and there will be no referral. So you are essentially saying you're okay where you are. If that's the case, that's great. If it's not, don't deny yourself coverage. The same is true of a business. If you have damage, whether it's to the real estate you own or the machinery and equipment, the furniture and fixtures, your inventory, any other business asset, whether you own the building or don't, please send the application in to us, and we'll assess that for not only physical damage, but also economic injury. If your business was damaged, and you had to close down for a period of several days to several weeks, you certainly lost business as well. And that may mean that your obligations are not going to be able to be kept current. We don't want this to become a financial disaster. So we also have economic injury disaster loan funds that are available to keep your business obligations current until things get back to normal. So if you are affected by this disaster, first register with FEMA. If you're a homeowner or a renter and you get an application from the SBA, fill it out and return it. The same is true for business owners. We want to get you whatever help we have available so that you can get back on your feet and hopefully get back to normal sooner rather than later.
That is incredibly helpful, Carl. And I learned something important there about just how big the categories that you serve out of SBA is. So thank you for that. I want to say a little bit about what the city government's offering, and it's a combination of helping you New Yorkers navigate through the various levels of government at the federal, state, and local level, and some direct service. But if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, oh boy, I don't know where to turn, the city can help you on that front. There are 3 ways you can access city services. First, you can always call 311. This is the 24/7 hotline. It's a way to access any of the city agencies in multiple languages. Secondly, there's also a website set up just for IDA recovery. It's very similar to the state website that Christian mentioned. It's just nyc.gov/IDA. The state website that Christian mentioned was ny.gov/IDA. And there's also an in-person service center where you can go to access help to recover from IDA. The city is set up originally in all 5 boroughs. Unfortunately, the Manhattan office is not open, but there's one nearby in the Bronx at Hostos Community College at 500 Grand Concourse. And what's great about the service centers is that you have various agencies all there. So you have the Department of Housing, Department of Buildings for physical repairs that you might need. You have the Department of Health there for mental health assistance. You have the American Red Cross there. You have the Department of Social Services there, which can help you qualify for various benefits. And they're also equipped to help orient you on some of the state and federal programs, as I mentioned. So lots of ways to access those services. And if you're a person who mobility is a challenge and getting from uptown Manhattan to the South Bronx is a challenge, the city actually, in some cases, will provide transportation, especially if you have a disability. So you can just call 311 and say, I got to get to the disaster service center in the Bronx, but I'm really not able to take the subway or don't have money for a taxi, and they should be able to help you out. We know that there are many people who have been struggling with food insecurity even before IDA, but that has been exacerbated because of this crisis. And so there is extensive food assistance that the city can make available. They can deliver meals to your door. And we want you to know that if you have this need, if your family needs food, that you should not be shy about asking. That's something that you can apply for also by calling 311. And finally, I'll mention that we know that we have so many immigrants in Manhattan and Uptown in particular, and that some folks have maybe had their immigration process disrupted by the storm. And so the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs has a hotline set up that can help you. And I'll read out that number. I'll read it twice. It's 212-788-7654, which you can access if you need special help on immigration matters. That number again is 212-788-7654. So good news for New Yorkers who are struggling to come back from IDA. You have support at the city government level. You have support from the state government. You have support from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration. You have support from the Small Business Administration, which, as Carl has helped clarify, is for small businesses, but also homeowners and really anyone who's had physical damage from the storm. Maybe I'll have you, Carlotta, answer for us. Is there a time limit that, if you wait too long, do you lose your shot? It's already been, I guess, 2-3 weeks since Superstorm Ida hit us. When do people run out of their chance to ask for help?
The incident period ends November 5th.
So we still have
2021.
time. That's
So
great.
they
news.
still have time, and there's a possibility, if depending on, the circumstances, illness, or, a huge event, they might be able to submit a late application,
Okay,
but, they would have to call the helpline to get more details on that. So
got
they
it.
have until November 5th.
Got it. And Carl, is that the same schedule for the SBA?
It is. It is. We follow FEMA's lead on that. And as she said, if there is a reason that's legitimate, we may be able to extend that, but generally the first part of November.
And Christian, is there any different state timeline, or is it similar for the state?
We're going to generally follow that same timeline. Obviously, if there's extenuating circumstances, we want to know about that, and we'll work with individuals.
Okay, so that's good. So that's November 5th. And that's good because this conversation is going to be run at various dates over the coming weeks. And it's good to know that people will still have time, even if they're not seeing us until later in October. We've also had some questions about how long it takes to receive your assistance after you submit your application. And you probably won't be surprised to hear sometimes people are frustrated about the time it takes. Carlotta, could you let us know generally how long it takes to receive, I guess it would be cash assistance in many cases, after the application is completed?
A lot of that is dependent upon how smoothly the process goes. If we're able to verify identity, occupancy, ownership, things like that. And if a request is made for information such as documentation, any kind of proof, if it's brought right in, we do have a processing time of up to 90 days, particularly for appeals. In between all of that, just dependent upon the case, where right now we do have a lot of disasters across the states and territories. So the caseloads are a lot right now, but notwithstanding that, if the documents are, submitted and everything, all the ducks are lined up in a row, it shouldn't be a very long process.
Is Manhattan specifically part of the area that was given a disaster declaration?
Manhattan, along with the other 4 boroughs,
Okay,
were
great.
a part of the declared areas, yes.
I am so grateful to this panel, grateful to Congressmember Adriano Espaillat for convening the discussion. And of course, he had to run and take a vote in the House of Representatives. We understand that. I really want to thank the Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN, for allowing us to have this discussion on another important episode of Represent NYC. Thank you all for watching. Thank you again, Congressman Espaillat. Again, I'm Councilmember Mark Levine, and we'll see you next time on Represent NYC. Thanks so much, everybody.